I talked to you about my plans for universal basic income as a Republican.
Yeah, which is I was like, whoa, okay, well, I want to know more, I guess, because I thought that was a left-leaning concept.
Yeah, so the way I see it is the government's good at two things. Essentially collecting taxes and writing checks, right? So when we pretend that the government is actually the primary point of intervention for things like healthcare programs, broad sweeping initiatives where we actually create like these bureaucracies, that's when our dollar starts to be less effective.
Okay.
So the thought is, the proposal would be a universal basic income of $12,000 a year, which would cost like an incremental budget of about 1.5 trillion. So it'd essentially be, imagine 2022 would be our last $1.5 trillion deficit, and then we start to take away some of the spending that we're doing on the social safety net. So would be disability, it'd be direct payments through things like welfare and stuff like that. But it applies to everybody 18 until the time they're dead. And then it's opt-in. So if you're on something like welfare or disability benefits, that you would either choose your UBI or that. So it doesn't penalize you for actually, so right now if you were on disability and you decide to go get a job, you're potentially interfering with your ability to collect benefits. So essentially you would be living in the mindset that like, okay, I'm disabled, I can't do anything. This is more a promotion of like individual responsibility. And you had originally thought about something like, you had said something like $2,000 a month?
Yeah, truthfully, like $1,000 a month. It is a car payment and gas, or food, or rent, or it's always an or. Like you're gonna pick, but like it's actually not enough to really change. Even like let's say I make like $5,000 a month, and now I make $6,000. Like it just doesn't seem like enough for the potential of what I'm giving up, which is now the government is my care provider, and I have to kind of be under their purview. Like that's my new boss. Like, and I'm a business owner. I don't like having a boss. I don't like having somebody who I have to depend on, and I have to kind of do what they say to get what I'm depending on.
Yeah, and I see it as like $12,000 is just right, I think, at or below like what is considered to be the federal poverty line.
Okay.
And
didn't know that.
Well, yeah, but you could argue that the number is higher as far as you need to actually make way more than $12,000 to be out of poverty.
Yeah, like at least $2,000.
Yeah, well, but there's this base floor, right? So this base floor says that you're human, and then the government should spend its resources to make sure that everybody's essentially at this base floor, but it's not enough to quote unquote live on, so it would still encourage sort of individual accountability for that next step. So if you had a universal basic income, right now, does your wife work?
Yeah, she's a kindergarten teacher.
Elementary. And so she probably doesn't get paid as much as she's worth. Is that fair?
Well, she has 2 master's degrees, and she put like her whole mission in life to becoming the ultimate best teacher for many, many, many years, and she acquired, well over $100,000. I don't want to say that number; it's embarrassing.
It's a big
well
number.
over $100,000 worth of debt to get the education to get there. And I mean, it's expected that she's going to make half of what another person who put in that type of effort.
So she's creating a lot of value for the community, but she's not necessarily being financially compensated for that.
Oh,
Is
but
that fair?
I'm like so grateful. I want to make sure I'm so grateful that she has a job and that they do pay her and that she's able to do what she wants. But she's somebody who's highly trained and skilled, and I would just hope that she would demand bring more money on the open market as far as all teachers, but especially ones with top skills. I would think they might bring 20-30% more than they currently do.
So she's doing, I would imagine, is a job that she's passionate about. Right?
Oh yeah, she just loves her job.
Some people do this. They do things that are connected with their value system, what they want to do, and the financial rewards aren't there, but they create a lot of value in the economy. Yeah. And I think with an idea of a universality to the $12,000, a year.
Yeah.
It says that we're recognizing that all humans, however they participate in society, have the ability to create value. So even if you're a caretaker for like an elderly, like parent that's not going to pay you money, having this $12,000 base floor allows you to be the one that takes care of your parent and not the federal government. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. But I have to go back like maybe 2 paragraphs to where you said the government should spend its resources to take care of the people and keep them at this base floor.
Well, to provide a uniform base floor, but that does not impede their ability to go beyond the floor.
Yeah, right.
Does that make sense? So it's like capitalism
its
where
resources. I just want to go back to its resources, right? The government's resources. So like that idea makes a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm.
If the government has resources, like the people pay taxes and there's an excess.
Yeah.
In that case, we use those resources to do what you're saying. So we don't go into a crazy amount of debt. Like right now, we're taking on money in a loan from like China in order to do anything.
Or the Social Security Trust, which is important for the next step. So you would tailor it, or you would partner it with a tailored value-added tax, right? So this is it's a tax system. It's essentially a consumption tax. So you would apply a 10% tax to a broad base of goods. You would exempt like small businesses from this value-added tax, and then you would onboard like imports when they come into the market. So essentially, some things would actually cost 10% more uniformly, but you could exempt consumer staples and things like that. But it would give the government another tax leg. And where we could actually move away from its dependence on income tax. Because income tax, you could say, are incredibly unfair because it gives you no choice in this tax, right?
Okay.
So if a consumption tax, you've lived in states with sales tax before, right?
Oh, it's wicked bad, yeah.
Yeah, but you can choose when you pay it, and you can choose not to pay it. Essentially, if you want to save your money, you're avoiding your tax.
So let's say I go to the gas station and I want some candy, and the candy says 99 cents. I know I'm going to have to pay that 14%, or you're proposing 10%, so you have to pay another 10 cents on that dollar, which is the reason people move to Montana, that there's no tax.
Yeah, so what it would be, this one, that 10% would actually be absorbed in the supply chain. So now that candy bar is like $1.09. But it is listed at $1.09, and those costs have already been collected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like if you list it or don't list it, it's still charging me an extra 10 cents. I understand.
Yeah, but if you were buying bread, for example, the government would choose not to put the value-added tax on bread because it's a consumer staple.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Does that make sense?
So it's mostly on luxury goods?
Yeah, you could tailor it and ramp it up to luxury goods, and you could actually tailor it to affect industries that are getting disproportional gains in our economy.
Okay.
So there was a presidential candidate out there, Andrew Yang, and he had proposed small taxes on every Amazon transaction, Uber mile, things like that, that are directly targeted at our fourth industrial revolution, and we're all going to be replaced by AI or robots or technology at some point. Anyway, broad swaths of the American economy.
So that thing you just said right there with AI and robots taking my job, and I understand like a robot who can lift a car, and like they've had lots of movies about this thing where they could be as good if not better than us. I don't see how $1,000 really helps me in that situation. Like if you were saying like a higher number that I could live on, or that I could even support the grocery bill or the mortgage, but like $1,000 isn't my mortgage. It's not the person I know who's really poor and has a family of 4, who has a trailer. His mortgage is $1,200 a month. Yeah. Like, I mean, his rent is $1,200 a month. So
there's been disproportionate inflation in housing and in healthcare, right? And the government's probably the only player big enough to actually fight the inflation in those markets. And so you would have to target inflation in like education, healthcare, and housing. So that would be something that the federal government, I think, should be involved in, but not necessarily like directly compensating people for their student loans or over-regulating or taking the full bill of like Medicare for all.
That's good that you're not into that. That's good.
Yeah, well, but the Medicare for all, for example, so if it actually passed, one of the things is there's $1.7 trillion worth of inefficient spending that they're targeting in the healthcare system. So that $1.7 trillion is all unemployment, because these are administrators essentially in healthcare.
Okay.
And so there's industries like that, and there's other industries throughout this nation that we have this buildup of non-value creators.
Okay.
You know, and if you were to really target efficiency in the economy, you would take out these inefficiencies, but then it would cause some societal impacts. So the $12,000, like you might say, yeah, it's not enough to survive, right? But you're also working. You know what I mean? So, like, I manage a couple of retail stores. Their average rate of pay is right around $10 an hour, right? So that would be, you know, like $1,600 a month gross, you know, $1,200 to $1,500 net. So they're struggling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is like 60% of the jobs that are happening in Montana, right? Now they just got, you know, a 70% income increase, and they now have a new negotiating position with their employers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like the ones that are the ones that aren't fun to work for, and the ones that actually don't treat people well, you would have more of your own advocacy, like your wife, where you could choose to do something that actually has value for you versus just trying to make a paycheck to make sure that they don't tow your trailer away, you know, next month. So that is kind of my take on it.